Hi, my name is Autumn Christofoli, and today I'll be talking about how to fix a flat tire. In my opinion, I believe that everyone who operates and drives a car should know how to do simple maintenance to their car in case of emergency, such as fixing a flat, jumping a car, changing oil, etc. Women specifically, I've noticed, don't know how to change a flat, and in these times, to see a young female even on the side of the highway is extremely concerning to me because they don't even know the simple highway precautions and to pull over to the shoulder and ensure that you're safe. In my demonstration, I'm focusing on people who operate a car regularly and don't know the basics of changing a tire. Once you know the basics, it's relatively simple for anyone. Knowing how to change a flat tire may save someone in the future. Knowing this skill is essential when you own and operate a car. When you find yourself in the position when you have to change a flat tire and are by yourself, you may have access to help, but in some cases you won't. In this day and age, we depend heavily on our cell phones, but cell service doesn't always cover what it says it will. Landscapes, weather, and the location of antennas and the cell network capacity all play in a factor of you getting service when you need it. This isn't to mention if your phone breaks itself and you have no means of communications at all. It is not hard to imagine a situation where you find yourself with a dead cell phone and a flat tire, unable to call for help. Changing your own tire can give you the ability to get back on the road and get help without it. Even more serious would be finding yourself in a remote, secluded area with a flat tire. People can be dangerous, so we recommend getting help from a source you trust, if possible, like your roadside assistance. But sometimes roadside assistance cannot reach you within a reasonable amount of time. If you're on the road, it may take several hours to get help. In the meantime, you're putting yourself at risk by staying in this spot. Other dangerous factors include weather conditions and where you had to park your vehicle, like if it slows down traffic or makes it a roadblock. This isn't to mention if you are in a rush, like say you are on your way to an important meeting or you need to catch a flight. Aside from saving time, you might save yourself some money if you don't have roadside assistance or a friend who can help. And then that way the only option you have may be a towing company, which is very pricey. I was lucky enough to be raised by an able mechanic, and I grew up in his shop. I wasn't allowed to get my license until I knew how to change a tire, change my oil, jump my car, replace my headlight, fog lights, and turn signals. And by this time, I had already replaced and welded an exhaust pipe, replaced rusted drum brakes, and easily knew how to replace brake pads. Knowing this has significantly saved me tons of money with my 2006 Saturn Ion. She's a rust bucket. I recently had a blowout on I-55 South last summer, and because I knew what to do, I was able to find a near exit and replace my tire within 15 minutes and still make it to work on time. Now let's start with the items you need to replace a flat. All of these items should come in your car, and you can find them in your spare tire cabinet. In my case, in a sedan, it's under a carpet in my trunk. You will need a jack, a lug wrench, fully inflated spare tire, and a vehicle owner's manual. If you have misplaced any of these items or your car did not come with these items, you should purchase new ones right away. You should always have these items, including jumper cables, in your car at all times, and be sure you're regularly inflating your spare tire in your vehicle manufacturer's recommended PSI. Here are some items that don't usually come with your vehicle, but you should always have to stow in your trunk or glove box in the case you do need to change a flat. I always have a flashlight with batteries that are working, and I usually have a rain poncho just in case of emergencies. Okay, now let's get into the steps. So first, you want to find a safe location. As soon as you realize you have a flat tire, do not abruptly brake or turn. Slowly reduce speed and scan your surroundings for a level, straight stretch of road with a wide shoulder. An empty parking lot would be an ideal place. Level ground is good too because it'll prevent your vehicle from rolling. Also, straight stretches of road are also better than curves because oncoming traffic is more likely to see you. Never attempt to change a tire on a narrow shoulder near oncoming traffic. Keep moving slowly until you find a safer spot. While driving on a flat tire risks ruining your rim, it's better to have to replace your rim than be hit by an inattentive driver. Second step, turn on your hazard lights. Your hazard lights or flashers will help other drivers see you on the side of the road, and to avoid an accident, turn them on as soon as you realize that you need to pull over. Next, you're going to want to apply your parking brake. Once stopped, always use the parking brake when preparing to replace a flat tire. This will minimize the possibility of your vehicle rolling. Next, you're going to want to remove the hubcap or wheel cover. If your vehicle has a hubcap, covering the lug nuts is easier to remove the hubcap before lifting the vehicle with the jack. If your lug nuts are exposed, you can ignore this step. But if you If they aren't exposed, use the flat end of your lug wrench to remove the hubcap. This will work for most vehicles, but some hubcaps need different tools to come off. Some newer cars have locking lug nuts. Your manufacturer should have a tool to remove these stowed in your car similar to the spare wrench and jack. Next, you're going to want to loosen the lug nuts. Using the lug nut wrench, turn the lug nuts counterclockwise until you break the resistance. You may have to use force, and that's okay. Use your foot or all of your body weight if necessary. I find that if you haven't removed your lug nuts yet since you bought the car, most of the time the manufacturer will have them tightened with a power drill. So that's going to be very difficult to remove. So in a case like mine, I had to basically jump on the lug wrench and to break the resistance on the bolts. You're going to loosen the lug nuts about a quarter to a half of a turn, but don't remove them completely yet. Save that for when it's time to remove your tire from the vehicle. Okay, now you're going to replace the jack under the vehicle. The right place for the jack is usually beneath the vehicle frame alongside the tire that's flat. Many vehicle frames have a molded plastic on the bottom with a cleared area of exposed metal specifically for the jack. To safely lift and avoid damage to the vehicle, follow the instructions for the jack placement in your vehicle owner manual. And if it doesn't have this, you're going to want to make sure there's a flat, secure area where your jack will safely fit underneath the vehicle, because you don't want it moving around once you start lifting it up, because then it's going to fall and it becomes very faulty and dangerous. Okay. Next, you're going to raise the vehicle with the jack. With the jack properly positioned, raise the vehicle until the flat tire is about 6 inches off the ground. Never put any body part under the vehicle during or after raising the vehicle with the jack. Like I said, just in case the jack is faulty and you don't want the car falling on you, because it's kind of obvious that's not great. Next, you're going to unscrew the rest of the lug nuts. It's time to remove the lug nuts all the way. Since you've already loosened them, you should be able to just unscrew the rest of them by hand. Now getting into the actual removal of the tire and replacement. So you're going to remove the flat tire. Gripping the tire by the treads, gently pull it towards you until it's completely free from the hub behind it. In my opinion, I always place the spare tire under the car for safety. And I say in my opinion, but I would recommend everyone place the spare tire underneath the car, like by the jack, just in case the jack does fail. And then that way, if the car falls, it'll fall on the flat tire and not crush your body. Okay, now you're going to mount the spare tire on the lug nut bolts. You're going to place the spare tire on the hub by lining up the rim with the lug bolts. Press gently until the lug bolt shows through the outside of the rim. Now you're going to tighten the lug nuts by hand. Put the lug nuts back on the lug bolts and tighten them all the way by hand. Once they are on, check each once again, tightening as much as possible with your hand. You will tighten them with the wrench after lowering the vehicle to the ground. Okay, now you're going to lower the vehicle and tighten the lug nuts again. Using the jack to lower the vehicle so that the spare tire is resting on the ground, but the full weight of the car isn't fully on the ground. So you won't be lowering the jack all the way, but it's enough that the tire is touching the ground. Now you're going to lower the vehicle completely and tighten the lug nuts again. Use the jack to lower the vehicle so that the spare tire is resting on the ground. And then remove the jack. Give the lug nuts another pull with the wrench and to ensure they're as tight as possible. In my case, I'm not as strong as an able-bodied mechanic, but even men should do this as well to ensure that they are tight enough. So secure the wrench and put all of your pressure on with your foot. Like I said, I basically jumped on it just to make sure that they were tight because you don't want any of your lug nuts falling off. Oops. Alright, you're going to replace the hubcap. This is an optional step because my hubcap it's not necessary to replace it, but if you don't want to lose it or if you want to replace it just for the time being, make sure you do that. And then next you're going to stow all of your equipment. This might be a silly reminder, but in case you are stressed or panicked already, it's easy to forget. But you're going to want to stow your jack, lug wrench, wheel wedges, flat tire, possibly a hubcap, and don't forget to put all this away in your vehicle before driving away. Okay, this step is kind of difficult because most people won't have a PSI gauge, but you can do this test by just simply pressing on the tire, comparing to the give that the other tires have. So let's say that it gives a lot. That's not ideal. This is when I said that you're going to want to regularly make sure that the PSI gauge is correcting your spare tires all the way pumped up, because you don't want to be driving around with a spare tire that's not as capable as your other tires. Okay, finally, once you have everything set up and you're done, you're going to want to take your flat tire to a technician. Temporary spare tires aren't meant to be to drive long distances or at high speed, so drive cautiously until you're able to visit a tire technician. A professional should be able to determine whether your tire needs a repair or if it's time to replace it. In my case, my spare tire is relatively smaller than the usual tires, so it's recommended not to go over 50 miles per hour and don't drive over 70 miles. And some more tips on changing a tire. Knowing how to fix a flat tire is great, but regular tire maintenance is even more important. In addition to reviewing the guide regularly, remember to do the following. Keep all of your tires properly inflated, rotate your tires according to the manufacturer's guidelines, and monitor for tread wear. All of these precautions will extend the life of your tires and reduce the likelihood of a flat in the future. While there's no way to prevent flat tires completely, proper care can improve the performance and ensure your tires last as long as possible. In conclusion, I find so many people who don't even know how to position a jack correctly underneath their car, let alone the basic steps of changing a flat. While there's nothing wrong with that, I believe it's a necessity as a car operator to know the essentials when it comes to car maintenance and situations where they need to change a flat tire. Thank you.